If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. I can calculate the motion of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people. What we know is a drop. What we don't know is an ocean. Gravity explains the motions of the planets, but it cannot explain who sets the planets in motion. Truth is ever to be found in simplicity, and not in the multiplicity and confusion of things. To every action, there is always opposed and equal reaction. A man may imagine things that are false, but he can only understand things that are true. If others would think as hard as I did, then they would get similar results. I do not know what I may appear to the world, but to myself I seem to have been only like a book playing on the seashore. To explain all nature is too difficult a task for any one man or even for any one age. We build too many walls and not enough bridges. Tact is the art of making a point without making an enemy. Errors are not in the art but in the artificers. No great discovery was ever made without a bold guess. He who thinks half-heartedly will not believe in God, but he who really thinks has to believe in God. In the absence of any other proof, the thumb alone would convince me of God's existence. If I have done the public any service, it is due to my patient thought. Nature is pleased with simplicity, and nature is no dummy. My powers are ordinary. Only my application brings me success. Plato is my friend, Aristotle is my friend, but my greatest friend is truth. Live your life as an exclamation rather than an explanation. To myself I am only a child playing on the beach, while vast oceans of truth lie undiscovered before me. I have studied these things you have not. The more time and devotion one spends in the worship of false gods, the less he is able to devote to the true God. Trials are medicines which our gracious and wise physician prescribes because we need them. It is the weight, not numbers of experiments, that is to be regarded. I keep the subject constantly before me and wait till the first dawning opens slowly by little and little into a full and clear light. The description and knowledge of nature can be achieved by careful observation, contemplation, and calculation. We account the scriptures of God to be the most sublime philosophy. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Every object in a state of uniform motion will remain in that state of motion unless an external force acts on it. The best way to understand is to practice, whence arises all that order and beauty we see in the world. The only reason we know so much about the universe is because we have never stopped looking. In the chain of reasoning, the main test is the agreement with nature. If I am anything, which I highly doubt, I have made myself so by hard work. All my discoveries have been made in answer to prayer. To every action there is always opposed and equal reaction. The proper method for inquiring after the properties of things is to deduce them from experiments. In order to be successful, one must be willing to study. What goes up must come down. To arrive at the simplest truth requires years of contemplation. I believe the more I study science, the more I believe in God. I was like a book playing on the seashore and diverting myself now, and then finding a smoother pebble or a prettier shell than ordinary, whilst the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me. I believe the more I study science, the more I believe in God. The change of bodies into light and light into bodies is very conformable to the course of nature. This most beautiful system of the sun, planets, and comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. I do not feign hypotheses, yet one thing secures us whatever betide. The scriptures assure us that the Lord will provide. The perfection of the heavens does not allow for randomness. There is order in the universe. If others would think as hard as I did, they would get similar results. If I have done the public any service, it is due to nothing but industry and patient thought. Atheism is so senseless and odious to mankind that it never had many professors. Errors are not in the art, but in the artificers. The motions which the planets now have could not spring from any natural cause alone, but were impressed by an intelligent agent. My principal method of conquering a difficulty is to think about it night and day until I resolve it. All variety of created objects which represent order and life in the universe could happen only by the willful reasoning of its original creator. To explain all nature is too difficult a task for any one man or even for any one age. I have a fundamental belief in the Bible as the Word of God, written by men who were inspired. The more we know, the more we realize we know nothing. To me, there has never been a higher source of earthly honor or distinction than that connected with advances in science. There are more sure marks of authenticity in the Bible than in any profane history. No sciences are better attested than the religion of the Bible. We know that God by His wisdom created all things, and so governs them by His continual providence, that they depend on His power and His pleasure, and as it were hang upon Him by a very strong and necessary dependence. All knowledge and all comprehension is limited by the extent of our present understanding. To understand the things that are at our door is the best preparation for understanding those that lie beyond. The best and safest method of philosophizing seems to be, first, to inquire diligently into the properties of things, and to establish those properties by experiments, and then to proceed more slowly to hypotheses for the explanation of them. I have never discovered any property of matter which indicates that it is self-existent. Nature is very consonant and conformable to herself. I am ashamed of my lack of faith, yet I can find no proof of that which I most desire to believe. A man may imagine things that are false, but he can only understand things that are true. We are to admit no more causes of natural things than such as are both true and sufficient to explain their appearances.